Yo, what's going on YouTube? It is Sean here, back with another chapter review for One Piece. I know I'm late, I've been slacking, but I actually got two videos coming out today, so I hope you guys stick around and stay tuned for those. The second one's going to be pretty interesting, so I hope you enjoy it. But today we're going to be talking about chapter 1046, and honestly, this chapter was kind of mild compared to some of the last chapters that have come out recently, but it was still really good, and we still got a couple really important like nuggets of information and things like that that I think are going to be really significant going forward, even down to the cover story, which is what we're starting with right now. Apparently, two people have just showed up at Whole Cake Island, and the people over at Pudding's territory, I think her island is like the chocolate island. They're shook. They're going crazy. They're like, oh my god. Some people have theorized that it's Reiju and I think it's Ichiji. Is that the one that's, I can't remember, but some people think it's the other Vinsmokes. Some people actually think it might be Blackbeard. And I'm actually leaning more towards that idea that it is actually Blackbeard or members of the Blackbeard pirates, because if we remember when it was first sort of announced that the world government had abandoned the warlord system and that they weren't actually going to get involved in the incident with Wano, and that they were pretty much spending, majority of their time and resources capturing the now former warlords. We saw a clip of Blackbeard saying, if the world government is going to go after it, then I'll take it for myself, or I'll go get it myself, something along those lines. And a lot of people have speculated what exactly he's been talking about. Some people thought it might have been Kaido's devil fruit. Some people thought it might have been something in Marijoa. Some people thought it might have been Luffy's devil fruit. Some people thought it might have been a poneglyph, maybe, in Whole Cake Island, or in Wano, because it was basically said that nobody's gonna go to Wano and interfere. So now it's sort of become a little bit more likely that Blackbeard is actually going to Whole Cake Island, which would make sense because as of right now, Big Mom and Kaido are both in Wano, and Big Mom took a pretty good chunk of her forces with her to Wano. So right now, the only people defending Whole Cake Island are Oven, a couple of the Sweet Commanders, and an injured Katakuri, who's not nearly on the level that he probably would be if he wasn't hurt. So it's interesting. Whole Cake Island is more or less defenseless right now, and we know that they do have a poneglyph there. They have a ton of really strong devil fruit users, so this could be a great opportunity for somebody like Blackbeard to go and ransack Whole Cake Island and take down the infrastructure of one of his fellow Yonko. Or also, I hate to say it, but this might also be him attempting to kidnap Pudding, because if he can't get his hands on Robin like everybody else is trying to, the next best option would be Pudding, because we know that if she awakens her third eye, she will gain the ability to sort of decipher the poneglyphs. Not exactly read them, but basically decipher the information that is on them in some capacity or in some way. So Pudding can be, once that happens, Pudding will become equally as valuable as Robin is. So that's a likely possibility that Blackbeard is seeing Whole Cake Island as an opportunity to take multiple things that he could very well want or need going forward in his quest to be the king of the pirates, which we know he won't be. That's Luffy. So the second thing that really stood out to me in this chapter, we're going in order by the way, was Zunisha. Towards the beginning, we see Zunisha, and she says, I keep saying she, it's just the name, but Zunisha says something along the lines of like, oh, I hear the rhythm, it's been so long, and we should put all of our faith, I feel like we should put our faith in that boy, right? Something along those lines. And that really stood out to me. It could have been the translation that I read. I haven't read the official yet, but it really stood out to me because it suggests that Zunisha knows wherever this rhythm is coming from, wherever the drums of liberation, this sound, wherever it's coming from, it's not the same guy. Zunisha knows that this is not the same Joy Boy that it knew 800 years ago. So that's important because it would suggest that Zunisha knows something about the fate of Joy Boy, whether he's dead or, you know, whatever happened. Zunisha is aware of that information. Obviously, Luffy doesn't care. He probably won't want to hear it. But if that information can somehow be translated to Momo or Yamato, and Robin is in that room, Robin can, you know, hopefully gain some more information. Robin is the only person on the crew who's really interested in, you know, learning about the true history of the poneglyphs. Obviously, the rest of them, you know, they find it kind of cool or whatever, but this is Robin's actual goal. So for the most part, she has been like our, I guess, liaison or representative on the Straw Hats of this, you know, information seeking. She's been sort of like a fly on the wall for us, right? She's just as interested, just as hungry for this information as we are. So if that information does somehow come from Zunisha to Momo or Yamato, Robin, I think, needs to be in that room. Robin needs to be present. She needs to be there to hear it, so we can hear it and so we can know, right? So that was pretty interesting. That really struck me when I first read it. So the third thing was Jinbei and Raizo coming in clutch. I personally thought Raizo would be dead, or that he would have burned a lot worse than he currently is, but whatever, it's One Piece. Nobody dies in One Piece, right? We all know that. We've made our peace with that. From a writing perspective, I still think that at least somebody should die, right? It just makes sense. The idea of them making it out of this war and not a single person dies, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But regardless of that, I will say that Raizo really came in clutch this chapter with Jinbei. I don't know if what they did is going to be enough, but it's definitely going to help. So Raizo, essentially, when he first arrived at Zou, he saw Zunisha watering itself with his trunk, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing! Can I take some?" And he used a scroll, a ninja scroll, to essentially seal some of that water into the scroll. And it's like a lot. It's like a whole lake worth of water. And he shoots it at Jinbei, and Jinbei essentially takes it and shoulder throws it down from like one of the upper floors straight down through all the floors all the way to the basement. And that's going to help put out at least some of the fire, right? At least enough for people to have an escape route, which is going to be really, really important pretty soon, because it's becoming, you know, more and more clear that the battle is winding down. People are less, you know, there's less fighting going on, and people are more so just in survival mode. People are trying to get out of the castle, out of the towers, and just make it to the outside. Obviously, not a lot of them know that the castle is in the air, or that the island itself is in the air, because if they did, they would know that once they get outside, there's nowhere to go after that. It's not just like, oh, we're outside, great, we're saved, you know, we can all just kind of go home. That's not what's going to happen. There's probably going to be some sort of, I would say, clash or conflict once everybody makes it outside. And then obviously the next thing is Momonosuke, right? We see Momonosuke in this chapter with Yamato, and she's telling him, like, look, you still have to carry the island. Yes, you pulled it away from the flower capital, that's great, but we're still hovering up in the air, and Kaido is getting weak, and his flame clouds are going to give out. You still have to carry us, right? Or at least put up flame clouds of your own strong enough to hold the island without it just dropping. If you can hold it enough to just lower it slowly, great. But we can't just like stop Kaido and then he passes out or whatever, and the flame clouds dissipate, and then we still drop out of the air and we all die. You're not big enough to carry all of us, right? Yamato doesn't say these things, but she essentially says, like, I didn't tell you this, but this was always our only option. You were always going to have to carry the island, because Kaido's not going to just put us down gently. And once he's done, once he's taken out, you're pretty much our only option left. So this was always the plan. You were always going to have to do this. And the time is now, because him and Luffy are going crazy up there, and he's at his limits. More and more pieces of the island are falling down into the sea below them, and it's becoming more and more clear that Kaido is really at he's reached his point where he doesn't have a whole lot left, and pretty soon he's going to have to go into, like I said, survival mode. And Kaido can fly, so at the very least, like, he knows he's gonna be fine. If he loses his whole crew, if he loses Queen and Jack, maybe not Jack because Jack's a fishman, but if he loses Queen, he still has King and Jack and all the other beast pirates who can fly. So Kaido probably thinks like, whatever, if I drop the island, I drop the island. But the rest of them don't want that to happen. There's still bombs, so Momo's really got to like get it in gear and figure out a way to carry this island. And then this brings us to our final point that I at least wrote down in terms of like things that I thought were really interesting. And that is that after we hear Momonosuke and Yamato talking, right at the end, there's one last panel in the chapter, and it's a quick glimpse at Luffy and Kaido fighting, and they're still fighting. And we see Luffy essentially standing over Kaido, or in the air above Kaido. Kaido's looking up at him, and Luffy's in his full sun god mode, and he's holding lightning. I mean, we don't know much about the sun god Nika, what exactly all of his powers are. We know Luffy is for the most part pretty much impervious to electricity, with his body still being rubber, having the properties of rubber. But where he got the lightning, what if it's real lightning, like, none of that has been explained. We know he's been shooting off the black lightning, the black hockey lightning, for pretty much the entire fight since he's gotten back up to the roof, since he figured out the advanced conquerors. But this doesn't look the same. It's white. It's a white lightning bolt, like a Zeus lightning bolt, and it looks like he's about to throw it down at Kaido. So I have no idea what's going on. Most people seem to have no idea what's going on with Luffy's powers. It's crazy, right? It's amazing. So obviously this is something that is sort of a point of contention as far as the exact abilities of not just the Sun God Nika, but awakened zones in general. So I'm going to be talking about that in a video that's going to come out later today. So hopefully you guys can, like I said, stick around and stay tuned for that. But yeah, man, I mean, Luffy's on some other, I don't want to curse, but he's on another level right now, right? He's going crazy. So I don't know where it goes from here. I'm assuming the next chapter, I didn't check and see if there was a break next chapter. I think there might be. But I don't know. I don't know if the next chapter is the conclusion of the battle. I don't know if there's maybe a little bit more that we have to see. But I mean, as of right now, I think at the very least, they have to figure out what to do with Onigashima. And then once Momo maybe gets a handle on that, or maybe at the same time, Luffy is going to, at some point, deal the finishing blow to Kaido. Or maybe it'll be a stalemate. Maybe it'll be something sort of like Luffy and Katakuri. Right, I'm assuming that that's what it will be. Right, we've seen over and over again that when two individuals of this caliber clash, for the most part, it doesn't end in a clear-cut win or loss. Even when Ace fought Jinbei, they both fell. Jinbei just fell first. When Luffy fought Katakuri, they both fell. Katakuri just fell first. When Whitebeard fought Roger, their battle lasted days and days, and afterwards they were both relatively okay, right? Both of their crews were relatively okay. There was no clear winner or loser. It just seemed like they kind of got tired of fighting and was like, let's be cool for a while, right? Truce, right? So I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this. I know Tekken just made a video about how it will conclude. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see where this goes. I think this is probably the most hype that I've been in all of this act of Wano. Speaking of which, how long is this act going to be? Like, At this point, I'm almost forgetting about it, that there's supposed to be another like 2 acts after this. So I don't know what that's gonna be. I assume that the next act will be the party, because we know there's gonna be a party, and then after that, there's gonna be what we normally see from the conclusion of these arcs, where the Straw Hats kind of regroup and we get a lore dump, a big information lore dump. We see what's going on around the world, what's going on with the warlords, what's going on with Sabo. And then maybe something might happen involving those world government ships or CP0. Who knows? But I'm excited. I'm sure you guys are excited. Stay tuned. Got another video coming out today. And yeah, peace.